So, I don't know if you know this, but you wrote something once that was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it helped a lot of people. Still does. Um, and and at the time you called it The Secret. Did you call it The Secret, or did they call it The Secret?
I called it the
You
secret.
called it The Secret. And and more recently we've been talking about it as the user's manual for human beings. And so what I want to do is I want to kind of go through bit by bit and just ask you more about the bits.
Okay.
Would that be okay? So it begins like this. Dear kids and former kids, I have a secret to tell you. Nobody meant to keep it from you. It's just that it's been one of those things that's so obvious that people couldn't see it, like looking all over for the key that you have in your hand. Have I ever told you about my wedding ring story?
No.
So, I don't come off well in this story. I was auditioning for a part in a play, and in the audition, they had my character propose to the girl, and being method, I took my ring, my actual wedding ring off, and proposed to the girl, and it went pretty well, and I was feeling good going back to the train. And then I realized I had left my wedding ring. So I go back, and it is the worst thing you can do to interrupt somebody else's audition. But I wasn't going home without my wedding ring. So I interrupted the audition. I went in, and they were really nice about it. They stopped the audition. Even the actor auditioning was nice about it because it's kind of a big deal. They looked everywhere. They stopped everything for about 5 minutes. And then the director said, "What's that on your finger?"
Oh.
Suffice it to say, I didn't get the part. And the best bit of the story is the other guy did. The guy whose audition I had ruined actually got the part, so it has a happy ending. But do you have other stories like where you or a client just didn't see something that was right in front of their face, or it was so obvious?
Well, I think of a lot of things about me.
That's good.
Like one day, my daughter called, and I said hello, and I didn't say anything, and she said, "Mom, are you there? Are you there?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm looking for my phone." Will that do?
What do you have any idea what that mechanism is that makes us completely blind to what's completely obvious?
Well, I call it my out to lunch syndrome, but I'm sure there's other names for it. I do not know.
Yeah. I mean, I always think of it like the fish thing, that they say that, if you want to know about water, ask anyone but a fish, because the fish lives in it. And I think a lot of the things that make who we are not obvious is that it's so obvious.
Yeah. Like that we're made so well.
Yeah.
So perfectly. And while we're at it, when you're reading this secret, I just realized, maybe for the umpteenth time, but I just realized that letter took me about 15 minutes.
Mm.
Right? And I didn't think about that at the time. I was just in a hurry to get to the meeting with the kids where I was going to give them that letter. But it wrote itself. I just happened to be there at the same time it wrote itself.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't know that was how we're made.
Yeah.
That can happen.
Yeah. So, did it register then, or
No.
did it just seem like, oh, I just have to do this?
Well, I was just, it was an emotional day for me because it was my last time with these kids.
Yeah.
And I had so many different emotions going on about it. I was sad I wasn't going to see him anymore. I was happy that I was going to see him, and I wanted to give him something, and I just said, oh, well, I'll just write him a letter. and it just, and I copied it, I don't know, 40 or 50 times or whatever. And I thought, well, that'll just have to do.
Yeah.
It was that.
Yeah.
But it felt like, well, I should have thought about this sooner. I should have gotten something engraved and, you know, something more kind of spectacular to give them. Buy them something. But I hadn't thought of it until that day. So it seemed like at the moment, well, like I should have done something sooner, but this will have to do.
Now, was there a point where that settled in and you realized that's how we're made? That we're able to just show up and something beautiful can come through us?
Yeah, not as soon as I would have liked.
It's never gonna be, like birth would have been nice.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
Yeah.
Well, I remember Sid Banks, though, talking one day at a thing he was doing about that very thing. He said he was just sitting up there being his cute self, and he said, like right now, I'm just waiting to see what I have to say, and what I have to say always just seems to show up, and I just speak it, and that's the way it works. He said something like that, and I thought, that's where that letter came from. And that's the first time I realized that was that simple. That it wasn't some magic thing that only Sid could accomplish. I think he was trying to get us to see that. But ordinarily, whenever he said something about that we're all made so that we could see things like that, I just thought, yeah, easy for you to say you're a something else. But that was quite the day to see, oh, I might be able to trust that. And I would like to say that from that moment on, I trusted it all the time. Nope. I had to keep realizing it. And I still am. I'm going to tell you a secret. I still think it's a little magical. Now I know that it's not, that it's how we're made, but I still think it's a little magical.
I talk about it sometimes that it's not magic, but it is magical. Like that's it's how it works, but how cool that's how it works.
It is. And I do trust it. Like you and I have not exactly had grueling planning meetings for this. We chatted a little bit before they turned on all the lights and so forth, but both of us have come to realize that there is something at work that's beyond our personal intelligence, and it's a lot smarter actually than that. And we are getting used to living there more often. And turns out everybody can do that. Everybody. It is important, I think, to remember that when we came into the world, we did it all the time. Mm. That we didn't read books before we opened our mouth. We came into the world and we were just in the moment all the time and seeing everything new and fresh all the time. And like a first word comes into our head and we speak it. Where'd that come from?
Yeah.
First step we took. Whoa. It's divine engineering. Whoever thought all that stuff up knew what they were doing, don't you think?
Oh, I think it's like, I wonder if this is a bit nuts, but like, I wonder if they put any thought into it at all, or it worked the same way. It just flowed naturally out of whatever the divine is.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, that's perfect.
What do you think they did before they did that? Don't answer that.
Yeah,
Never
I
mind.
don't know that I could just go quiet for 6 days, and then on the seventh day I'd rest.
Oh,
So I remember reading in Keith Richards' autobiography. I think it was Keith Richards' autobiography about how the Rolling Stones would write songs, and he describes how I can't get no satisfaction, and he said so he like played the guitar riff, and Mick Jagger was going da 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 satisfaction, get no satisfaction, I can't get no, and then like just the whole thing, and it's that, but we don't trust that unless we happen to be doing the thing that we think we're just naturally good at. Like, I didn't know that was portable. From the first time I ever taught, I could do that. I don't know how. Nobody told me about it. I opened my mouth. I remember my best friend was there that day and went, where is this coming from? And I'm like, I don't know. And he said, well, wherever it's coming from, keep going. And I didn't know for years, decades, that I could do that everywhere. I thought that was only here.
yeah.
That's a magical gift I'd been given for teaching. It's a magical gift Mick Jagger was given for writing songs. It's a magical gift Picasso was given when he paints. And I didn't know it's so ordinary that it's almost a little disappointing that anyone can do it. But anyone can do it because we're all made that way.
I was watching my my great granddaughter when she was, I don't know, 3, I guess, and she was always making up songs. And I was just watching her and thinking, and they were stories about her family and stories about animals and bugs, and she'd be dancing around, and I remembered a guy interviewing Bob Dylan about the creative process, and he asked Dylan how he went about writing all his songs and how he went around composing. And Dylan said, oh, I don't do that. I just pick them out of the air. And I thought, that's what my granddaughter's doing. She's picking them out of the air.
Well, and I think the two things that are kind of miraculous in an ordinary miracles kind of a way is that if we didn't think that was the wrong way to do it, we could do it at the age of 3.
Yes.
And then somewhere along the way we went, no, there must be a right way to do this. So let me learn the right way and then it'll be better. But it never is. That's one part. The other part is, and I know I've said this, but it is extraordinary to me that the same thing that allows great art to be created is where conversation comes from, is where building a piece of furniture comes from. It's like anything that we do can be that simple.
Yeah.
And then we can develop a craft around it. Like, my guess is, no offense to your granddaughter, that probably her work at 3 as a singer-songwriter was not perhaps as great as it might be at 18 if she kept with it.
Yeah.
Even though the source, the come from, never changes. Yeah. I love the quote from Gaudi, the architect, that if you want to create something original, you must go to the origin. And to me, that's one of my favorite names for that space that sits.
The origin. Yeah.
The origin.